Here we go. We live. Peace and blessings. Welcome to the 33rd Universe episode. We about to kick it with my partners and my folks, so close the door. If you hungry for some knowledge, yeah, you got it. Here we go. For my leaders and my queens, we about to build on Astro. And these badass kids, though. We about to talk about some children, man. Parents, I hope y'all join in on this one. I hope y'all join in because we're going to talk about these kids. There goes one of the parents. There goes one of the parents. She'll be able to help narrate if I get off track. So we got astrology within the family construct, and we're going to see how the children mirror a particular time frame of said parent. So before we get into that, we want to bless the room, we want to bless the energy, we want to get our energy right. I got my little meditation music in the back. Woke up on the wrong side, so I had to get my chi together. But we getting there, Everybody else, y'all help me get there. But peace and blessings to all the ancestors, known, unknown. Thank you for providing the energy to put this information out. Thank you for the knowledge to put this information out, and we are thankful for the health to be able to produce these lectures and put this information out in the world. Somewhere someone will be interested and will be needing this information, so it's interesting to me. It's interesting to my wife. We talk about it, so I figure we'll put it on live and we can talk about it on live. So, first of all, we're dealing with relationships. So, we are all energy. Each person, each being are energetic beings. The energy has a frequency and a particular trait to that energy. So whenever you're dealing with relationships, relating to another person, that's all that is. You are looking to harmonize that frequency. That frequency should be in harmony, or you should find harmony to become in tune. So when you're dealing with another person, you want to identify the energy. You want to begin to pick up on the traits and begin to build a understanding to the frequency or the traits in particular, so that you can match yours with theirs and vice versa. So as a parent, it's particularly imperative that you learn these harmonies, because if not, kids will drive you crazy. Kids will drive you crazy because their frequencies are all over the place. Their minds are all over the place. Their thought formats are all over the place. But luckily for you, most of the time they're your kids, and they have a lot of energy traits that resemble yourself. So for parents, it's particularly important for us to identify our kids' energies, and it's particularly important that we do not treat each child the same if we have multiple kids. Just like if you would have siblings, you wouldn't treat each sibling the same. You probably have a sibling that you like better or that you get along with better because of the harmony. and it's okay to accept those things. But what you do is allow yourself to harmonize with your child. You give yourself the ability to identify your child's energy. They have traits that are very particular, and a lot of times you look at your kids and you be like, well, shit, they act just like their daddy. Shit, they act just like their mama. But it's no magic trick. It's straight up science. It's off in the science book somewhere. I can give you the broken down version, and pretty much you have the DNA that transfers through the blood when you have a child or when you conceive a child. The X chromosomes come from the man, and XY chromosomes come from the woman. Those chromosomes come together and create the genes, or lock the genes into the DNA. So the DNA flows through the blood and is given off to the child. So when you have the child, male or female, they have a portion of their father's DNA, which goes lineages back. They have a portion of their mother's, which goes lineages back. So all those energies are compounded, and particular traits are keyed in on for this child. But all in all, that whole generational lineage is encapsulated inside of that child because of the DNA. So, or the DEA. Let's correct that, because we are deoxyetheric acidic beings. We do not have the DNA like most beings. We are the superior genome in the in this earthly realm, and we have deoxyetheric acid in our molecular structure. But anyway, you get those portions from each parent. Boom. So now what you're looking at is one of your children is going to be, first of all, the genes are built on extremes. So you have the best of you and the worst of you, which comes from the full capacity of the family. So some of the best of the family is going to shine in this child, and some of the worst in this child is going to shine. And these are what we call generational curses. So what you come to do is expound on your generational blessings, and then you key in on figuring out how to heal from the generational curses, because you're going to send that energy to the next child and to the next generation. And this energy never dies. The energy stays in the family circle. So it's your job to expound on this generational experiences, and to enhance your family's generational experiences, and push them off into your next child, and give them the same tools to do the same. And we keep the generational energy compounding and raising, and the knowledge and awareness of each being that comes in contact of our lineage. They are now enlightened ones. They're not just low frequency people that come on earth and they have the back of the start line. They're in the back of the start line and they have to catch up. Their lineage, or your children's children, will now have a frequency that is capable to maximize their experience on this realm. So all in all, that's what's going on when you produce a child. The child is the best of and the worst of. And when you produce a child, not only that, you also looking at a timestamp of you and your partner at that moment in time in life. Because what you're doing is, like I said, you're energy transferring. So you're transferring energy that you possess at the moment to produce this child. So when you produce this child, the energy encapsulated in them is now, it's kind of like a what you call the marathon race. Like they pass the baton, Like, boom, you take the baton. Now the kids take the baton from there, and they running. And when they get to their kids, they gonna pass the baton. But the cool thing is, you're still running the race. So you're running in the race, but you pass the baton to your first child. Boom. So that timestamp of when you were born, when they were born, peace God, when they were born, they're taking your energy and they're running off with it. So they're going to expound on that energy. They're in a marathon. Peace and blessings to Nipsey, Ashe, the legend. But they're in a, yeah, bro, peace. Thanks for tapping in. But they have the capacity to take your energy to another level. And with your help, you're running the race with them. Y'all both could be expounding on each other's energy is what I'm saying. So you produce a child. The child has the best of you and the worst of you. They're in that single moment that you have that child, the things that are going on inside of your life is what happens, or what is personified inside of that child. And this is a picture right here of the orb where all the planets circulate around the sun. And this is from our view. So when we put a picture up of the sky and how it looked when you were born, these 12 pieces are broken down into life cycles and life situations. So it'll be quite simple for you to figure out what kind of child or what kind of parent the child has if you look at the birth chart. And we can take a look, excuse me, we're going to take a look in a few minutes. I got some charts of my child, and I was just going to go through some examples of how you could really understand who the parent is through the child, or who the parent was at that time of life. Yeah, let's get into that, because you have particular traits in the first house. All of these are called houses, and the sun or the moon or whatever planet we're talking about goes around a circle, in a circle in this space. So it's kind of like the Wheel of Fortune when they spinning that thing or whatever it is, and it stops somewhere. So say it stops on 7. Say your sun stops on 7, which means that the sun was in that place of the sky, the 7th house over there. It was in that place of the sky when you were born, or when your child was born, or when whoever's chart we're looking at was born. So that would particularly mean that the higher octave and the lower octave of Libra will manifest in that child. One or the other, depending on the parents. So you have, like all signs, you have a higher frequency, and other signs you have a lower frequency. Peace, God. I see Culture Freedom. That's my first teacher right there. He in the house, y'all. It's my first teacher, got me on this shit right now. But anyway, if you have the 7th house child were born with the sun in the 7th house, that will particularly mean that their father, this is general, that their father is Libra essence. He has a Libra energy. He might be in a space where higher frequency, he might be very balanced, he might be very knowledgeable, he might be a leader. And then in the lower octaves, he might be very off key and might be very in need of training and help of balance, because the 7th house is all about balancing self so that you can get into the next space to transform your energy. So I'm gonna just talk real quick about how my kids are and how you can see my sun sign within No, that's the wrong chart. We're not going to do that one yet. Let's do this one. Boom. This is my first child right here. So you see all of these planets, all of those little symbols are planets. So I have highlighted over here in the left corner the sun. The sun is the red circle with the dot in the middle. It's very small. I know y'all can kind of see that, but that's in the second house of the spectrum. So when we go back to the second house in the spectrum, let's go back to it. What does it tell us? It tells us that you have finances, possessions, and values. So let's be very transparent in this situation. I was going through financial problems because this is my first kid. I was just starting my career. I was just moving into my space. I was just buying a car. I was doing all of these things, so I had a lot of financial problems, and I was trying to gain physical possessions. And you can see very clearly that the sun was in her second house when she was born, and my values were all self-centered when I had my daughter. So the sun showed up in her second house. Boom, very, very clear and concise. So we'll go to my second child. I hope y'all can. Damn, you can't really see it, but it's over here behind my face in the 8th house. The 8th house had the sun. This is my second. No, this is Landon. My bad, y'all. That's Landon. There we go. It's still behind my damn face, but my second son's sun is in the 8th house. I hope y'all understand that. My second child, my first son, he was born with an 8th house sun. So that means the sun was in the 8th house. Let's go to the 8th house and see what that was about. Sex, death, joint finances, and taxes. So let's be transparent again. In this situation, I was involved with my child's mother, and it was strictly a physical thing, strictly a sexual situation, strictly that type of vibe with me and her. We didn't have much else to lean on. That's the only thing we had to lean on, and that fell apart, of course. But joint finances, same thing. I had all my stuff tied up with her, letting her deal with all of it, and she was using me for money. So 8th house is all about that type of vibe. So you'll see my second child's son laying right in the 8th house. Boom. Let's go to my third child. My third child would be, okay, that would be my baby boy Landon. And you can't see it. It's behind there again, and it's in the 9th house this time. The 9th house, let's go to the 9th house. 9th house talks about what? Higher education, travel, spirituality, philosophy. Okay, boom. Transparent again. I was in a moment of enlightenment. I was in a moment of learning the truth of my walk, and I was getting onto the path of where I needed to be. Side note, my last child, the 8th house, that's all about transformation as well. It's not just sex and death and joint finances. Those are some of the physical things I meant to touch on, my bad. So the 8th house had to do with transformation as well, and I was going through a transformational process between myself and his mother, and we were splitting. Side note, back to my third child is my baby boy Landon, and his son lands in the 9th house, which means I was on a walk of spirituality. I was on a walk of higher learning, and I was beginning to walk my path and enlightenment. And the 9th house is all about enlightenment enlightening one's self and becoming new and knowing. We can go to my 4th kid. Let me find this one real quick, and that'll be it. Then we'll talk about some more trends and traits. Astrology chart. And then I got... Oh no, I don't have his chart. My bad, y'all. But his son ended up in the 1st and 2nd house. It was all in the 1st house, and some of it leaked into the 2nd. But he had his son in the 1st house, and his son meant that he was about... Joe is the only one. But I had my son in the 1st house, and that's pretty much absorbed with finding oneself. And it could be appearance as well. I was very into dressing and being cool and I was into making clothes, into providing new fashions and things. Me and Landon would be big on clothes, and we produced a child that had his son in the 1st house. Very, very, very simple things to look at. So you can do this. You can do this with the moon as well. So mothers, you can do this with the moon. You can go around to the moon, and you can look and see where the mother's energy was at, higher or lower octave, depending on what house and what sign it's in. So it's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're involving these breakdowns and traits. But these are some ways to pretty much harness harmony when you can identify your child's energies. Yeah, we definitely was rich at that time. When we made Joe, we was rich. So you see how I went full circle. I went from my 1st child to having financial issues. Then my 2nd child, I was in a transformation in life. My 3rd child was right behind that when I was in my spirituality phases, and it came back around to the point where I was absorbed with myself and able to lead, because the 1st house is all about Aries, and that's leading. So you can do that with all spaces of life. My 1st and 2nd child, they were with a different my child's mother, and they both have a Venus in Cancer. So when I look at that Venus in Cancer, it makes me think that the relationship was in a delusional state. The relationship was a fairy tale. It wasn't a real thing, because Cancer in the lower octave deals with delusion and deals with absorption of the dream world. So those two things manifest very clearly in my first 2 children. And then with my wife, I have Landon and I have Josiah, or Assad Josiah. And Landon's Venus landed in Pisces, and it was because me and his mother, Pisces is exalted in love. It was because me and his mother were very, very much in love, and we very, very much produced a loving child in the higher octave of love. And then our 2nd child is Taurus, and that's ruled by Venus and love as well. And just like Landon, Josiah was the same thing. He was produced out of love. So you can kind of identify these things in any kind of way. If you need help, hit me up, Moredreams at iCloud.com, or DM me. We can get into some readings. I can do some readings for your children, and we can help identify the traits. Because boom, let's just get into something real quick. Leo kids, Scorpio kids. Now, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about Leo kids and Scorpio kids. If you're Leo or Scorpio, any type of energy, moon, sun, all that type of energy, you got a dysfunctional family. Let's go ahead and get into it. It's not to say that you all the way fucked up, But in most cases, when you have a Scorpio energy, it means that your family or your mother and father were in a transformational situation. Or it may mean that they were only involved with each other due to sexual energy. Or it only means that one parent, or it could mean that one parent was leaning on the other parent, or one parent didn't like the other parent that much. It can mean a lot of different things, but the transformational energy, the transformational energy shows up in Scorpio. And it doesn't always have to be a dysfunctional, because the higher octave in Scorpio could prove that the parents were very, very much deep on a intimate level with each other. That could mean that as well. It could mean that they were both on a awakening period where they know how to adapt, because transformation is always coming. If you know a Scorpio, you know they're always changing up. They always are transforming. They got some new shit to come into tomorrow. The next day is going to be some other shit. But Leo kids as well, I noticed Leo kids have parents that possibly were into each other on a fun type of basis. I noticed that maybe they're because the fifth house is fun, creativity, children, romance, and speculation. Facts though. Track Savage says facts on that Scorpio vibes. But the Leos that they were born and conceived in Scorpio season, so the sexual energy is heavy in Scorpio season, which is November. So sometimes Leo kids are born out of sexual energy, purely sexual energy, and your children are here to teach you. They're here to teach you about yourself. So if you pay attention to each one of your children, you should be able to have learned in each order of you having a child whatever problems they have. So first child, you should be learning the struggles or the things that you were dealing with when you made that first child, so that you can harness and help them with that same things. Because what's going to happen is they're going to need help with whatever you needed help with in that area of life when you made that child. And this is all general. This is all general. Don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to word for word. But Pisces children could mean that they had a very, very deep, dreamy parent, mother or father. That they could have that energy that is kind of delusional in love. Like they equated everything in love. Everything equals love. Like you gotta express yourself through love, pretty much. So Pisces children, kind of, that's not delusional, but that gets a dreamy, delusional, process a little bit. Because when you're dealing with the real, the emotionally intense, it stars up, because the real world is all based on logic, and the Pisces wants to live in the fantasy, and the Pisces has big fantasies that they really believe in, and that they know will come true one day, and they can and will come true. They just have to harness those qualities and not so much lean on or let the physical, realistic world get them into. That's facts. That's facts though. My wife says, Low Solar Art says, because the real world ain't real. That's facts. That's facts. The Aries Kid, boom. The Aries Kid could have rebellious parents. They could be loud-mouthed a little bit. They could be strong-headed, maybe. The parents could be button heads, or they could be working in a pact type of vibe. each energy is personified like a timestamp. Boom. I had this kid on April the 19th, 2006. Boom. Right then and there, that kid comes out, and the energy that it possesses is based on what you and your partner was doing. These things are very simple, but they're very interesting. And if you get into the astrology of it, the breakdowns and all of the proof is right in the pudding. It's very, very, very apparent what was going on, what you was dealing with when you see these children's charts. I was going to, let's see what we got. Okay, so a Gemini Kid. A Gemini Kid, you have a child that needs to communicate clearly, learn to communicate clearly, and to socialize in the third house, which is getting along with neighbors, siblings, having short trips, and dealing with the mind. What happens is, if you have a child that's an Aquarius, either they have a little too much Aquarius or they don't have enough Aquarius. So it's up to you to identify if it's balanced or not. Because if they have a little too much Aquarius, let's look at the opposite, and the opposite is Leo. Give them a little Leo, put some Leo in the energy, put some fun into the Aquarius's life, and you'll balance out the Aquarius. Now, if the Aquarius is having too much fun, that means they're tapped into their Leo already way too much. So bring it back up a notch, and you're going to get inventive. You're going to get mind orientated. You're going to get into a space where you're needing to produce the future, because that's what Aquarius does. So real quick, we'll go through the progression. Real quick, this whole chart. We'll go through the progressions. I have videos on each one of these signs in my catalog on Instagram and my bio. Check those out. But we're starting off on this first house, and we're going to go counterclockwise all the way around to the 12th house. So this is how energy completes itself and continues on. So just say we'll deal with the sun. The sun starts off in Aries. Aries is learning self. Aries is learning about the appearance. It works on self and appearance. Boom. So once it gets into the self and appearance, it goes to the second house, which is learning how to deal with these finances, possessions, and values, which pretty much means how to love yourself. Then once you learn how to love yourself, it goes into the third house, where you're getting into learning how to deal with siblings, getting into neighbors. You're going back and forth doing trips, and you're working on your mind capacity and your brain capacity. So once you get into your brain capacity, you're able to go to the fourth house, and you're learning how to deal with the home base. You're learning how to deal with family, communicating and connecting with the family. And the family is the Cancer energy. Third house was Gemini. Second house was Taurus. I didn't say that. First house was Aries. So we're getting into the fifth house now. The fifth house is now Leo, and Leo is learning how to be creative, which is sexual energy, and learning how to raise and manifest children, and the romance aspect is now involved. And then you become progressed into the sixth house, which is the purification process, because what this whole bottom half 1 through 6 is all about is the physical processing of oneself. So throughout all that processing, you have to purify yourself, and that's Virgo. If you know Virgo, they like to be clean, neat, and they work real hard. So you see the routines, you have work and health right there. And so that completes the physical aspects of it all. So counterclockwise, we're going up to the 7th house, on through the 12th house, and that's all the spiritual capacity of the the energy. So now you're dealing with the spiritual space. So the Libra space is next in the 7th house. You're dealing with relationships and partnerships, which means you're learning how to balance, and you're learning how to compromise. You're learning how to deal with one another and become a balanced being so that you can judicially deal with things, which just pretty much means be judgment free, and you have the proper judgment whenever you use it. So going into that, the next transformation pretty much is the 8th house, and the 8th house is about transformation. So now once you have balanced yourself in the spirit, you're able to transform your energy in the 8th house. So sex, death, joint taxes, and those things are involved, but the deeper side of it is Scorpio, and the Scorpio is, like I said, transformative, and it needs to transform itself so they can get into a newer aspect of living, because when it gets into the 9th house, it's going to obtain a awakening process, and it's going to go in a spiritual space where it learns the truth. Pretty much in the 9th house, that's Sagittarius. The Sagittarius goes on to pass the baton to the Capricorn in the 10th house. And the 10th house says recognition, honor, career, and fame. But that's the Capricorn, so the Capricorn is going to work hard for recognition. It's going to work hard in his career, and it wants to work hard to get honor in his name. Capricorn transforms his energy over to the 11th house. The 11th house is dealt with in Aquarius, and Aquarius reinvents the wheel, reinvents the situations of life where they can become able to foresee the future. They're able to foresee the future enough so that they can so that they can create something, so that they don't have to work as hard as the Capricorn did in the 10th house. So they would reinvent whatever the Capricorn was working hard on so that they can make it work for the future and a lifetime. So the Aquarius transforms itself over to the Pisces, which is the last phase of energy. And this is why the karma and the self-undoing and hidden enemies and all different things come at you in the 12th house, because the 12th house is the completion of energy. So maybe where each of these energies cut corners at, you'll see it in the 12th house, because the karma will show up and say, hey, you didn't finish what you was doing right here. You didn't finish what you was doing here. So the karma shows up, or even hidden enemies will show up to provide particular lessons. And the completion will be when it goes back to the 1st house, and it should be a higher octave, and it just keeps going around and around and around and around. And that's pretty much the lecture, family. I really, really appreciate y'all checking this out, man. This was very fun. It's 414 right now. That's for all you knowers, seekers, and achievers. Y'all know that's the 144,000 person is to be the saviors of this earth. So happy daylight savings day to this bullshit ass time. These timestamps just help me identify the angels, which angels are watching, because they communicate through numbers as well. So although time is not real, numbers build this matrix that we live in, and numbers are, what we able to view, so that we can decode some things that English just won't do. You know what I'm saying? So appreciate y'all checking me out. Like I said, if y'all have children that you want to look at and identify some level of information with me, I'd be glad to do it. We can do some entry prices, nothing big, nothing expensive. Check me out, moredreams.com. Y'all check lowsoloart.com out. She has a great journal, Spiritual Mirror. It's on Amazon. It's on her lowsolo.com page. The link is on that. So click on that, buy that, get into that journal so that you can begin your spiritual mirror. You know what I'm saying? Peace and blessings, family. Happy Sunday. Go in there and learn your kids. Deuce.